Hello, Friday with IrnieracingNews exclusively on Rumble. This is the Irnieracing Daily Rumble. Welcome everybody, March 17th, 2023. We will be airing this on YouTube and Rumble for the first 9-10 minutes, and then it goes exclusively to Rumble so we can actually talk and not be censored on CensorTube. So please go over to Rumble, just type in Irnieracing on Rumble, and you will find the channel, and this is the Daily Rumble, March 17th. So we're going to go to overview of what we're going to talk about, and then we'll start getting into it. So a bunch of the topics are, number one, the CDC lied about report showing a 27% increase in sexual assaults on teenage girls. The CDC can't get their math right. So they were fact-checked by their own fact-checkers making up numbers. And where have we seen that before with the CDC? And 30 million, that is how much big banks invested in the First Republic Bank to prevent it from being the fourth big bank to fail this week. Maternal deaths surged to the highest rate in nearly 60 years from data showing that mothers who are pregnant are just dying like crazy compared to what happened before. And we're talking a rise of 40% for the 2001 numbers compared to 2002, and even less for 2019. The most popular song on iTunes today is Trump Won by Natasha Owens. Now over to France, on fire guys. The French President Emmanuel Macron, the WEF, invoked special constitutional powers to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. And it was going to be voted on, but he stopped the vote and just, vetoed it and put it straight through Parliament. And we'll get onto that story and the protests that are coming from it, and the journalists being attacked by the French police. I just posted it on Rumble as well, a video. And of course, in the precious metals, interest rates are going up and up, and so is gold and silver, and gold just hit an 8-month high. It went up like $57 overnight. And we talked about this yesterday, how the FDA has authorized Pfizer's Omicron booster, the fourth shot to be given to children younger than 5 and older than 6 months if they've had the previous 3 shots. So if you've had your first 3 shots and you're over 6 months of age, go get the 4th one, according to the governments, the big pharma, big government, big assholes. And of course, the Biden family always getting payouts, the whole family circle. The House Oversight Committee released documents on Thursday that accused the Biden family of receiving money through an associate from a Chinese energy company. Of course. And the recipients are Hunter Biden, James Biden, President Biden's brother, Haley Biden, and the widow of President's late son, Beau Biden, and a 4th account for an unknown Biden, maybe the Biden dog. And the missing uranium in Libya was found. Oh my God, I wonder what the story on that is. Was it really missing? Is it stolen? Has it actually been found? We'll go into it. Union strikes caused hundreds of flights to be canceled in Germany. They are striking in Germany because of inflation. They want higher pay, better working circumstances, of course, too. Okay, there's been at least 22 people killed, and not just killed, but massacred, and we're talking about monks in Myanmar last week. It's being called the massacre of civilians by the military junta. Of course, what's the real story? So the junta is the rebels, and apparently people were just shot to death in a monastery of sorts, and so this is like going back to they're trying to do a coup. In Myanmar. I've never been there, but I certainly had it on my list for Southeast Asia. And New Hampshire passed a bill that mandates that parents be notified when a child has changed name and pronouns in school. So we'll get into that story. And of course, the Pentagon released footage of the Russian jet, or jets that were spraying fuel on their spy drone, their U.S. spy drone, which is actually right near the border of Ukraine, whereas there's a war going between Ukraine and Russia, right? There's no U.S. involvement at all. No, that U.S. drone wasn't up there doing intelligence for the Ukraine army and military, or essentially themselves, right? And we're going to go into that. We did a story on this before, and we were kind of looking at, the U.S. is always lying about everything they do, and here's the Russian story that they didn't collide, and the video footage is very suspect because they go to like the color screen when the plane comes in. This is not 1984 right now where we have these color screens. It's totally, in my opinion, edited, completely bullshit. We don't even know if this could have been a video game footage. They were actually using video game footage back a year ago to show, in the Ukraine, USA, Russia war, what's going on. And they released this on all the news channels. I did stories on this showing the footage they took from video games, and not even created originally. They went on YouTube and found video game footage. And they look still realistic because it's a simple sky and clouds and ground base, and showed, fighting going on from ground to air, trying to shoot planes down, saying, oh, we hit a Russian plane. And then the guys on the video games who put their video games on YouTube claimed copyright. That's my footage. How freaking ironic. Okay, and anyways, also inflation. Inflation goes up. Interest rates go up, and hand in hand, and I've been doing some studying as well in terms of the 1970s inflation into the early 1980s. We've seen this before. What are the parallels from the 70s to early 80s? Inflation, interest rates nearly 20%, inflation up 14% back then. What happened with people's investments of homes and gold and rare metals? And so right now, inflation in Finland hit 16.3%, the highest in 60 years. So what are we seeing here with the banks and inflation? And, what happened back in the day with Nixon trying to get reelected, printing more money, trying to get the interest rates low for his reelection, and then they skyrocketed right after. But he doesn't care. He just wanted to get reelected to get his pension and get his cronies in order. And of course, Zimbabwe has declared that it wants to join BRICS. So that's the major things in the news we're going to get into, guys. So again, this is Marcel with IrnieracingNews Daily Rumble. We're going to cut off the video now for YouTube and go exclusively to Rumble so we can talk about the VAERS report, so we can talk about the underlying issues of everything and not be afraid of having my channels censored and deleted, suspended permanently without process of appeal, like my Irnieracing Reports channel, which was just boom, gone. Also, there's a couple other subjects I want to mention. So Justin Trudeau was at a town hall in Mississauga with the firefighters on March 16th yesterday. And so you have the firefighters, you have some media and some presenters and children there used for his propaganda. Now, if you don't know, everybody in the room who is going to ask questions or be sitting there as firefighters, they're told to not say a word. And if they're going to be asked a question, the questions will be handed to them, be vetted to them. Maybe they could have a little discussion about them, and they're not allowed to go off course of the question for Trudeau, so he knows exactly what he's being asked and what he wants to answer to. And a firefighter tweeted out about this issue, in fact, onto Instagram, and let me read that tweet.
My father's been a firefighter for how long? 12 years. And my question is based on technology and about the program. Today, people can do basically anything through the internet. And I just want to ask, will there be like a safety thing implement in the online program?
So yeah, guys,
stay away from the things.
He's talking about the censorship bill for the internet, Bill C-11. So this kid is used for Trudeau's propaganda, and they're for their political opportunities. And let me get into the letter now. And so if you're not following the Rob Primo on Instagram, he is always on top of the news. He's nonstop. That guy works like crazy. All he does is gather the news and share the news and throw in his opinion pieces in there. And just amazing work, Mr. Rob Primo. And so here's a message that he received. Primo, I almost passed out. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to sit through silent. Everyone who asked a question at the fire hall had to submit it to the chief prior. That was basically a staged movie with the children's questions and everything. We were told if we asked something that we didn't run by the chief and have approval with the PMO staff, we could face disciplinary action. We were also told it could impact the fire hall and future promises from the federal government. The entire team is beside themselves. All of our hands are tied. That was so wrong. The temperature of that room was boiling. You should have heard the protests outside. It was loud and nice to have them doing what we wish we could have. Yeah, guys, so this will be the last little bit before we cut over to Rumble Exclusive. And so I like what Rob replied back to him, and straight to the fucking point. You'll be sorry one day, man. I would have taken disciplinary measures. That's the least you could have done, but it is what it is. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that word, disciplinary. But yeah, I mean, like, he sat idly by and afraid of disciplinary measures. Like, it's like not even being fired or anything. Like, we all lost jobs, based on this. I've lost my YouTube channel monetizations. I've lost my careers with YouTube. I've lost the channel. Essentially just fighting the good fight. And a lot of people lost their jobs in healthcare, working for the government. In Kelowna, they're still trying to battle with that. If you worked for the city of Kelowna under Mayor Bazran when he instigated it, you had to have the shots to work for the city of Kelowna. And there's been so many cities like that, and some of them are being overturned. But yeah, absolutely. There's just empty threats for all we know. Disciplinary action, Jesus. So, yeah, that's one of the stories. Oh, and the other story I'll mention before we cut over from YouTube censorship. Okay, I found it. The owners of the Fernie Cattle Company, along with a few fellow supporters, arrived at the Fernie courthouse this morning to address the charges levied against the owners, Scott and Cindy, in September of 2021 for failure to ask customers for their private medical information. That's right, guys. The bullshit COVID totalitarian passport, the vaccine passport proof. And they are extremely delighted to report that before the case went to trial this morning, the Crown prosecutor dropped all charges. Boom. So they held out against the totalitarian COVID passports. And this is a good time because we can all talk about what are the point of the passports when they're all based on one big lie admitted by Pfizer's Janine Small in Europe. And we're going to cut over right now, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rumble Exclusive.